World. It's Alex Weir here with Fractal Radio, the official vlog of the Fractal Journal. I said that hesitantly because I don't know how long this is going to be. I'm sitting here drinking my super zen green tea made by Twinnings, the most zen of tea companies. And yeah, yeah, yeah. It's on my mind, social media, because Brian Lunduk, a fellow that I follow, Linux enthusiast, guy that worked for OpenSUSE, just a really great journalist, I guess, commentator, YouTuber. Yeah, he recently made a decision to just completely cut social media out of his life. And I don't necessarily agree with all of his assessment, but I thought, I've written about why I don't use Facebook and stuff like that in particular. And it got me to thinking, you know, there's more. There's more reasons. Here's what I found in my brain just now. Refractory periods. People need refractory periods. Like, I guess I'm using that term correctly. If not, I'll take poetic license. So a refractory period is something that I took from like way back when, in ancient days of yore. I had a little psychology course in the community college, and that's the neuron, the distance between the neurons, the synapse when it fires. There's a period, and in that chemicals retrigger. So, yeah, refractory periods. When people are always seeing information from you, when you're seeing information from people, you get desensitized. It's not as fun. Absence makes the heart grow fonder, and so you start taking people more for granted, or you can. I think it at least makes it more likely, which is a reason to avoid using social media, or to use it very sparingly. Some other people just want to be connected all of the time, and it works for them. But I think on the whole, generally, the more that you're around a person, the more there is room for conflicts to grow out of misunderstandings. And like, I just noticed in my life that people need time away from each other sometimes. You've got to, it's not even necessarily about space, of like giving a person space or whatever, but it's more got to do with the fact that you need to process each other's inputs, as it were. If you're thinking computer-wise, you need processing time, and Facebook, Twitter doesn't really allow for processing time. Now, I think that there's definitely good things in that instant communication, more communication, just quantity-wise. I think that quantity does have its own sort of quality, but at the same time, we've got to start using it more intelligently, and become aware of the fact that saturation in terms of social interaction can negatively impact life, fun, relationship. I hate that word. I hate it so much. And it's not a bad concept to talk about. I don't mind, all the romantic doodah stuff. It's fine. That's fine. What I don't like is this industry of, I don't know, it's not even softness that I dislike. It's this weird counselor softness that I can't stand the word relationships now because of it. Yeah. Again, another super informal installment, but social commentary, especially done informally, kind of gets a loose idea flow going, which is helpful, I think, in terms of developing an understanding. Blah, blah. This is just basically a Facebook comment, bro. You're just basically just doing a long-form Facebook comment. Yeah, but here's the difference. This can become part of a body of work, and you can click off of it, and it's not popping up in your feed. This is like a channel. When Brian Lunduk was talking, he's like, YouTube is like a channel. You can browse through it if you are specifically looking for a kind of entertainment or dialogue. Now you can use, the Twitter or Facebook feed for the same thing. However, it's really not the same, is it? Because This is more like a verbal essay, and I have thought about it. And yes, you can make cogent points on Facebook. You can even type like paragraph long blogs, but there's just something different about it, I would say. Maybe that's just my opinion. I mean, everything is everybody's opinion. You can only arrive at an approximation of like an objective thing, and yeah. And I do believe, despite having said that, I do believe in objective truth and objective morality. I just don't believe that it's like this universal thing. It's very hard to describe the parameters of what I'm saying, but yeah. So I'm reading The Philosophy of Law, an Introduction by Roscoe Pound, because I just feel that we need to understand the underpinnings of law. I got really annoyed. There's a lawyer that does YouTube videos, and he's like, you shouldn't come to lawyers for philosophical insight or whatever. And I'm like, law sprang out of philosophy. You can try to make it like a scientific bureaucracy process, but it's not really going to function, and you're not going to make a very good society if your lawyers are basically just a bunch of fucking weasels. So The Philosophy of Law. Let me read you the back of this book, because it's nice. Among books of similar scope, this is the recognized American classic. Those who read this book will have the strange privilege of thinking things together in the law from the beginning of written history to the moment Pound sent his writings to the printer. Though this writing of Pound's they can use through this writing of Pound's, they can see what it is to deal with the whole objective world of the law as a free man should, knowing how things have happened fortunately or unfortunately, logically or through some kind of hardly explicable human conduct. American Bar Association. I like that. Logically or through some kind of hardly explicable human conduct. That's what I was talking about in my last video, quasi-philosophical waffling, because that's the trouble with these questions of policy and these more long-term scientific questions, like whether or not global warming is anthropogenic, to what degree it is, and how quickly it's going to escalate, for what reason. Does that always happen logically or through some hardly explicable human conduct? Because when it's the latter, it can become a pickle, and people shy away from it, or they engage in just nonsense, just throwing various competing jingoisms at each other. Yeah. So, stuff and things. Now, day before yesterday, I sat down, I wrote out a bit of the sketch of Sam Monroe. I did some cursory research. It's coming. I'm so very sorry. It's been like 2 weeks now. I'm terrible. But I really feel like I need to use this time window to build up certain parts of my physique for not only like what I do at work, but for just health and vitality in general, and I'll feel it'll help me in my writing. So anybody that misses that or is disappointed, that's not the only reason. There's just a lot going on right now in terms of ideas in my head and how I'm trying to whittle them forward, and the fact that I didn't want to just mechanically put something out that's not up to par. It's getting more difficult because I need to research the area that I'm writing about more extensively than I did in previous chapters, where I could just do dialogue and banter and philosophical stuff. I want to actually make it feel and be somewhat realistic, like you were in the Amazon with these group of dudes. And that's proving challenging. Likewise with the story, She Sells Seashells. It's I have to research piracy, Harridan, Barbarossa, and like sailing techniques and things of that nature, various myths, etc., to complete that story. And when I do research, I need to like make all these trees and lists of interconnected things. So it's time consuming, but it is coming. So that being said, I'm not going to give a time frame because I keep doing that and fucking up. The reason I do that, I know that there's a high chance I'll fuck up when I do it, but it really keeps me, pushing forward, gives me kind of a guilt complex, which is somewhat necessary to get me moving sometimes, just because my mind, I just want to do everything and I jump from one thing to another. Anyway, thanks so much for listening to this brief little vlog. I hope you found it entertaining. My website is called www.fractaljournal.com. There's free books being uploaded as they're written. There's all kinds of essays and stories and poems and little quips like this that I do. Sometimes I'll do music. I'll try to do more music. That's not shit. As time progresses, thank you so very much for listening if you made it this far. And cheers.